Now let's take a look at what we wrote. What I want to explore here is the syntax of our action script. That first part there we're going to be referring to as dot syntax, and that's named because of course, the dot that's in the middle of those two elements. Now I'm going to go down here a couple lines and type something else in. This isn't real action script, but it describes what dot syntax is going to do for us. I like to think of it as who dot what. Now in this case, who is Polly. It's telling us what object we're working on the stage, and it's calling it out by name. The what side of things says, what do you want to do to Polly? You want to change the Y scale, or you want to change the width or the height. Now dot syntax is going to be the way that we're going to be accessing virtually everything in the program. So it's going to be very important to think about what we want to place into the object, or how we'll get to it. Now if we look at the what side first, there's a lot of different things that we can put into there. We've already seen quite a few properties, and we'll probably be seeing a lot more. This allows me to access not only properties of an object, but also functions of it as well, and we'll be seeing that very soon. Now for our little lesson with Polly here, I want to focus on the who side of things. Our dot syntax has been very simple so far, but what I want to point out is that our who side is not only naming an object, but also specifying its location in the movie file. Let me get rid of that line here. And let's go try this out. Now, I'm going to press Option F9, and of course that's just F9 on the PC to get my ActionScript window out of the way. And let's set a couple of things up. Now you can see over in my library, we have the parrot. Of course, that's the one that we have out here on the screen and named Polly. We've also got a movie clip that's the bird cage. That's going to be our cage sitting here on the table. And we've got a little pole, looks like a hanger that we can probably toss a bird cage into. What I'd like to do is I'd like to take the bird cage right now. Let me just double click on that. We'll bring that on up. Now we've got a bird cage set out in a whole bunch of different layers. You can see in here that we've got one layer with the perch in the center on it, and we've got an empty layer sitting here for a bird. Well, let's fill up the cage with a bird. I'm just going to drag a copy of the parrot out. So we'll have the movie clip parrot dropped on in here. And I think if we put it right into the bird layer, it'll sit right nicely inside the cage there. And now we got Polly in a cage. Now, notice this is a movie clip. Even though we're working inside of the movie clip bird cage, everything else in the property window is still the same. I've got a movie clip down here, and I have an option to put an instance name in as well. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to name this instance Polly. I typed it exactly the same way as our named instance on the stage. Now, I'll also point out, normally I use unique names, but I'm actually using the same name here on purpose because we want to explore that who part of the dot syntax. Well, let's go back to scene 1 and see what we've got. Of course, now I've got two birds on the stage. Since we already had an instance of the movie clip out here, and we added the new Polly to the bird cage, of course that's going to appear right in the screen. Now I've got two Pollys, one in the cage, one out, and we've got an action script out here. Pull up our action script window. That's going to modify the Y scale of Polly. Let's try out our movie and see what we get. I'll do Command Return, and of course that's Control Enter on the PC. Now if we take a look at our resulting movie, you can see that the original Polly is stretched out with that Y scale modification, but the one in the cage hasn't been touched at all. Now you might be wondering, why didn't we modify this one? Well, our dot syntax, as I mentioned before, is not just the name of an object, but it's also the path of an object. Let's take a look at a couple windows inside the program and we'll see what I mean.